What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Monday. I'm going to talk through a little bit of this early slate. There's not going to be a whole bunch to go through with the baseball. You're going to realize that basketball go through so many different things, but when we go through the baseball shows, it's going to be mostly Q&A. It's going to be talking about the same things that we like, and once we have our new videos uploaded with SaberSim, I did want to let you guys know about this. We'll incorporate different parts of that into a lot of our stuff, especially for those people who are using SaberSim through us, which we really appreciate. And I think it's a really good offering. So check that out. Just a reminder to everyone that Pittsburgh and St. Louis is postponed. So we're not going to be playing that one, obviously. So with that said, I'm going to get into my plays real quick and say what's up when you get in the chat. We'll go back and forth. Sheets should be joining me pretty shortly. But so your priorities to me are kind of interesting here, because these smaller slates, you kind of want to get a little even weirder. For me, that's what I tend to do. I think that you should be trying to attack like some funny positions. Unfortunately, like, you're going to find yourself liking some of the chalky plays a lot of the times in these situations, but it's tough. There's only 3 games here, and we want to try to find ways to get different. So I think it's pretty clear that Milwaukee is the best team on the slate. By the way, I did write up my best bets, and I'm not going to give them away for free every day, but I do like the Milwaukee Baltimore over, and I do like Milwaukee especially. But I like Baltimore on the other side. And I think you can also get different in your Milwaukee stacks. I think you're going to get low-owned Caratini and low-owned Brousseau and low-owned Colton Wong. Those would be the guys you can get at lowish ownership. On Baltimore side, what I'm going to try and do is force in some Mullins and some of the overspend seemingly. The Mullins, Odor, something like that. I like Trey Mancini as a 2,900 first base. That seems kind of crazy. I don't want a full stack of Baltimore, but maybe that's a good way you can get a little different, is get a little bit exposure to this game. The wind's blowing out to left, so it does, when you hear game stacks going forward, that's the part that makes a difference, is like the weather, the umpires, some cases, 2 bad starting pitchers and bad bullpens. Like, it's not we're saying, oh, because one team goes off, the other team's going to. We're trying to, it happens sometimes because of the situation. And this one, you have, the better hitting weather on the slate. And then I think everybody's, other than the Milwaukee side of things, I think most people are going to be on this this Colorado-Texas game, which I think the total on this feels a little high to me. But it's still, I get it, I guess. It feels a little high to me, to be honest with you. I love Gomer. I don't know why the total is quite as high as it is. I think that Gomer is a really good play as a pitcher. I also think that because he's going to have ownership, you'd think that you could get a Texas stack cheap, but it seems like unlikely that you're going to get a Texas stack low owned, but it's unlikely that you're going to get too low owned of a stack for the highest total on the slate. I'm just having a little trouble with this one, to be honest with you. Obviously, Seager, Simeon, Garver are great plays, but I don't know. I think Gomer is actually like a really good play here. And remember, this guy pitches half his game in Colorado, and against the NL West, who literally make themselves capable of beating the hell out of every lefty in the world. So I'm not as high on the bats in this game as I initially was going to think I was. Grichuk, Chris Bryant on the other side in that game are very interesting. Like, they're good plays, obviously. But I don't know that I want to get exposed outside of the pitching on that side. And maybe that's what I'll do, is play these expensive Baltimore bats. Don't pay up for the Texas, Colorado bats, and don't pay up as much for Cleveland and KC. But I do think Cleveland, especially Jose Ramirez, always, because he can literally win a slate on his own. He's going to be popular, but I like a little bit of that chalk. I don't love to eat chalk for hitters, but he's the one I feel the worst about fading. And I'm not personally getting on to the KC side of the hitting at all here. So I'm going to be playing Savali on the other side. It'll be Savali and Gomer will be the majority of my early builds, and using the chalky Milwaukee with some of the lower owned Milwaukee stuff, the Baltimore bats. That's the way I'm trying to get a little bit different, is to play the Wongs, like I said, and to pay up for Mullins and actually any of these Baltimore bats. I think you can get a pretty low ownership. But you've got first base 2,900 for Mancini. I like that. And then even though I do like the Cleveland stuff a little bit, I think I think you're getting guys like Stephen Kwan it's going to be really, really chalky. If you're playing a cash game type of build or you're stacking them, of course I get it. But I just don't want to play these guys at crazy high ownership. The only one I'm willing to take some to do that with as a one-off would be Jose Ramirez. All right, let's get into it. No video or audio. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, there we go. No, there was the video and audio. We have to start them early because otherwise we come in and then we just end up going over the same questions over and over again. So guys, jump on in and pop in any questions or thoughts on the slate because there's not a whole lot else for me to talk about on this small of a slate. We did release a video for our first early look of the tonight's main slate. I'm happy to discuss that a little bit. I do want to point out that let me see. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just go through my highlights of that one. Patino Bundy with Atlanta as my favorite stack, even though it's chalky. And to get off of it, I'm going to play San Francisco, LA, Miami, and Tampa Bay in that order. San Francisco, I'm sort of forcing some in because I think it's a way to get different. So that's what I've got for now. I did put up my bets of the day. There's only like a few of them I like. You're not going to see much from me on the bets early in the season for MLB. But I will put up every one of them that I think is that I like, that I not think is viable, that I think that I like. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got. Yeah, I'm definitely worried about playing Gomer, but I'm also willing to play all these guys because no pitchers are getting extended. And Gomer's a good, he's not a bad pitcher. And games shouldn't be higher totals in Texas than they should be in Colorado. So I'm not worried about it as much. But yeah, you can completely go a different route if you want to. There's not a whole lot to choose from. There's 3 games. So I've got 6 pitchers to choose from. So I'm fine with it from that perspective. I don't play cash games. And I think playing cash games on this early slate is sort of like, what are we even doing? Don't do it in baseball. I just think it's really silly when you get a 3-game slate and people are playing cash game lineups. It's just, you want some cash game type of plays. Sure, some guys to hold your lineups down or whatever, but I just don't understand cash game plays on a 3-game slate. So I hope that's not what we're talking about. I think that I love SaberSim. I mean, you can get us through SaberSim and you have all of our packages, all of our stuff, all of our core plays, Ryan Rohde's Sheets' projections, the industry-wide projections, the average ownership. All of these things are really cool things that I think that are really nice that you can get from through SaberSim through us. So I would say, yes, that is I think you should take a look at it. I think it's really, 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 really good. Do I stick with 5-man stacks on smaller slates? No, I don't. I don't think you should be 5-man stacking unless you love the stack. I think you're fine to do it. If I did it, it would be Milwaukee for me, or Texas, I guess, or Colorado, but I would be the logical ones. But I don't really think you need to go out of your way to 5-man stack on a 3-game slate. Again, don't listen. It's not a 4-game slate. Remember, we lost the game here, so you don't need to worry about stacking. I do want some correlation, so I'll try to do 2, like a 4-2-1-1 or something, or like a 3-3-2, or because I think there is some value in the correlation, but overall, I don't think you need to overly force in a stack unless you really like one on 3-game slates in general. All right. I don't know where Sheets is. He's supposed to be here, but I guess he's not showing up. So it's just me and you guys. So keep popping in the questions. And I'm happy to answer, talk about anything. I just don't have a whole lot else to get into. Do I like Carlos Hernandez? I think it's fine. That would be the next guy I would go to. Personally, I like Gomer better. I like Gomer, Savale, and then I would go Hernandez or Hauser, and I would probably skip Hearn or Zimmerman. I'm not getting to any of those guys. It's not wrong. None of these guys are wrong. They all project within 3 fantasy points of each other, or 3.5 is the biggest gap. Gomer, by the way, has the highest strikeout prop on the slate, which is something you should be looking at. So I would take that. Whenever you have the lowest the highest strikeout prop, and you have the cheapest price, you're probably going to end up in my lineups. You also have it's funny in that game. You've got Bill Miller, who is legendarily the best pitchers umpire there is. Just everything that lines up for me, I'm playing Gomer. And when we say that Texas definitely made some improvements, but I mean, am I afraid against a lefty with guys like Nathan Lowe and Cole Calhoun? And they don't scare me. 1 through 4 is solid, but I don't know. I don't personally see it as being as high. Okay. There's a basketball thing, which is totally irrelevant. Basketball's over, guys. That was quite a ride at the end. I'm so happy that we stopped, or I stopped playing when I did, because it was just such a crazy situation for every game that was happening down the stretch. You had the games that were really mattering, and then so many that people were just literally throwing away. It was hilarious. I think on a 3-game slate, Green Monster, that's a really good question. Would I play Seager and Gomer in the same lineup? Probably not. I don't think you need to do that. Just play anybody else if you're going to play any of the other ones. But you could do it on a 3-game slate. So the answer is it's fine. I won't be doing it today. That's where I'm at. Let's see. Oh, no, I don't have any extra questions. But yeah, I would, yeah. By the way, it's great to have this baseball. I'm going to be able to get some more stuff done during the day. We're going to update stuff on the sites. We're going to have on the site. We're going to have so much better stuff because I don't have to like literally go digging into 5 million different things. And the cool thing is I post my early builds on our site, but I'm only doing like a couple lineups. That's how I do baseball for the first couple weeks is I just play a couple big lineups, spread out a little bit of like maybe 10 or 15 in the $15 stuff. And then one in the 555 or the whatever is on each site. But I don't like, I don't like early in the season going crazy because I want to pick up some trends that I want to spot some weaknesses and some bullpens and some things that I can sort of try and take advantage on as the season goes, try and get a better feel for it. I just think it's the smartest way to do it. And also correlates with the fact that I like to bet on the NBA basketball stuff. So I can sort of like change my focus. But I do post my early builds. And for baseball, they're much more valuable than they are for basketball because they're not going to change that much. They're going to be very similar. So it is something that I would encourage people to take a look at. It's under my ownership, but as I start playing more, I'll start listing out like actual ownerships I have of the players. It's just hard to do when you're only playing like your initial builds are only like 2 lineups. But that's probably going to be basically what my main lineups look like. Yeah, every now and then there's some extra research or weather changes and certain things will happen, but they are much better feel for what I'm actually doing than basketball when we don't know the 500 guys who are going to be ruled out before lock. Baltimore is both. That's a good question, but yes, it's both. Yo, Ronald Jones, what's up? Baltimore, yeah, but yeah. Anyway, by the way, there's no like brainchild on a 3-game slate. Okay, so you have to just try and find ways to get different, and you have to make sure to try to, if you can, have on a slate like this, you would want to try to find 3 guys you can get at less than 10% at least, depending on the size of the tournament you're playing. So if I'm playing even like 100 man or 150 man big buy-in or something like that, I'll eat a little more of the chalk. But if I'm playing like a 500 person tournament, there's no way I'm just going to go out there and eat like crazy amounts of chalk because it's baseball. It's super high variance. Nothing is an obvious spot and nothing is, you hear people say this, every time somebody says a hitter's a lock, don't ever listen to that person talk about DFS again. There is no such thing as a lock in baseball of any kind. So don't ever buy that with a hitter. Pitchers, it can be different. But anyway, it's a very, very different game. And I'm just sort of reminding myself as I started playing early this year, not up to the greatest start, but that's what happens. You get your few things right. And then, it's whether you stack or not. Yes, you can get away with a 5-man stack. You can win a tournament with a 5-man stack on a 3-game slate, but I don't think it's the optimal way to go. It's just sort of like the lazy man's way of doing things. That's another reason why I'm not as big of a fan of it. I would rather get different than how the whole field plays in general. And on slates that are 7 games or less, I don't think that stacking is it feels sloppy to me and weak the way people do it. Yeah, can you win if you're playing 150? Yeah, it's a lot easier to play when you're max entering that whatever that tournament is. If you're not, you do need to find little ways to get different. Guys, pop in any other questions or thoughts or any end of the season things. I'll be here for a few more minutes, or I'll stay longer if you guys have more to talk about. I think we were waiting on the Baltimore. No, we had just gotten it right before we got in there. The lineup, which was pretty much exactly what we thought for Milwaukee. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, just to go through some positions, guys to get using to get different are guys like Mullins and Odor, but I think Mancini's a good price point play. Maybe a pivot off of Hira, who I actually really like, but I'm probably going to play Hira. But I do really think that if I wasn't playing him, I'd be playing Mancini at first. Catching sort of sucks, so taking the best hitter is usually the good option. That would be the kind of thing I would be doing more than I would want to play Seager. Although Seager's okay, I think I would rather just spend it for one of the other good, whether it's Adames or we have no free. Yeah, I guess Adames. I mean, it's fine. You can in 3 games you can always play a hitter against your pitcher, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to do it. But like I'm finding a catcher if I end up with Caratini basically at the top, exactly middle or bottom. Caratini, Perez, and Diaz at first base. I mentioned Mancini or Hira. If I was going a different direction, it would probably be CJ Cron. Second base, I like the idea of getting different with Odor because I think you're going to get really low ownership. I like the idea of Colton Wong, who's going to be really low owned in your stacks just because of the ownership. I do think Solak makes some sense. What is he? He's averaging 27 fantasy points per game. How many games did he play? One? Yeah, he played the one game and he was 2 for 3 with 4 runs, 2 walks, a home run. Jesus, that's quite a game. Yeah, but anyway, second base, I think the obvious play is Semien, but I like the idea of getting different with the guys I mentioned. Third base, Jose Ramirez is the top play because I'm going to get a little bit different enough with most of those other ones. I'm okay with using a little bit of the chalky Ramirez here. I just think he could win the position by so many points with the speed power upside. And then if I wasn't playing him, I would probably be playing Brousseau as opposed to Witt because I like the fact that I like the Milwaukee stack better than KC. If I wasn't playing Savale, maybe I would go to Witt. Shortstop, again, Seager, Adames, and Brousseau are probably the guys I'm using the most of. Don't mind if you want to play Ahmed Rosario. Outfield, unfortunately, I'm using the Milwaukee guys, and I love paying up for Mullins when people aren't going to play him. I also think that if you're playing the logic angle, like Garcia, I think makes a lot of sense. I think Chris Bryant makes a lot of sense. But again, I'm not going with those guys as much. I'm going with more Santanders. I want to play a little bit of this other situation just to try to get different. So I do like the Baltimore 2-man, 3-man stacks. Do I pay up for that? That's a really broad question. It depends on the slate all the time. Early in the season, the paying up for just go with what you think is the best upside and the safest. It sounds like an easy thing to say, but the reason why you have to change the way we've always do it, like it's going to be different in a month and a half from now. But in general, paying way up for pitching, it's so easy to do because the pricing is so soft. So do it if you like the guy. But there's no general way to answer that question because like I'm playing Gomer. Would I play him at 9,700? No. I can play him at 5,700 and he's still got the highest K. Actually, I might even play him at 9,700. You want the safety, but with the upside. But the problem is the upside early in the season because everybody, lets their pitchers throw like 70 pitches. You're not going to get the upside you normally would get. So like later on the later slate, like Manoah is a good example of this. Like we don't know how long his leash is going to be because they'll probably try to ease him in, but he's a big, strong guy who can accidentally throw 80 plus pitches and strike out 7 guys while doing it. So it's always it totally depends on the slate. I don't know. It's a tough one to go general on, but I'm trying to answer it as best I could. So I'm there for you every day, buddy. So just ask me what I think and what kind of slate is which. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's still the wind blowing out. So it doesn't. The answer for that question is on this slate. It doesn't really matter because we have 3 games to choose from. On other slates where we're talking about things, we're like, yeah, they did make some changes, but if it's wind still blowing out, it sort of neutralizes it. So I'm not worried about it on this kind of a situation. Yeah, see, I don't like, so the Green Monster, that's exactly what I won't be doing. That's just Chalk City. So I'm not going to be stacking the chalky, the chalky Texas, Colorado stacks. I'm just not going to be doing it. So I'm okay if somebody else wants to, that's just not what I'm doing. There's one chalky one I was going to eat. It's going to be the Milwaukee stack, and I'm going to get different with my guys I mentioned. And let's see. But the truth is about the fences in Baltimore. Like we really don't entirely know. I still have them rated to be one of the better hitters parks in baseball. But yeah, it's certainly something to think about. But you don't want to overthink about it. There's no right answers in baseball. You know what I mean? Like you could be the best player in the world and you could lose for 20 straight days. You could be the worst player in the world and throw in a lineup and just get there. It's a crazy high variance game. You shouldn't be, if you're ever playing like 1 lineup or 2 lineup or 3 lineups or in a day is that if you're less than that, I think you should spread it out and play smaller or keep those in only single entries or 3 max tournaments because it's really bad to not get exposure to these different situations in a sport that's so high variance. You're actually playing safer if you spread out your ownerships a little bit, especially as it relates to hitting. All right, guys. Well, it's been a blast. I'm going to get out of here soon. I'm going to try to go get this cleared up, get a beard trim, a haircut, try to get back my life together after being sick for a while and it's really starting to feel a little better, but it's still not totally gone. Not even COVID too, just a weird lingering thing. So hopefully that gets out, that gets better. I do feel like a whole different person today than I did yesterday. So, or I guess I should say 2 days ago, but we're ready to roll. All this stuff is up on the site and let's make some money today. Good luck, everybody.